Kachi is a medium tank in the Japanese tech tree that can be unlocked during Summer Landing event. I know the vehicle looks weird, but it's premium. Its characteristics depends on your choice to use or not pontoons, so you can slightly customize the vehicle to meet your preferences. In this video I will try to give you a basic idea of what this vehicle is and should you use pontoons at all. This tank uses only one type of rounds, armor-piercing high explosive. But we are talking about War Thunder here. There would be no point to use any other round even if you could, since APHE deals fantastic damage for its caliber while still maintaining more than reasonable penetration. Additionally, projectile's muzzle velocity is over 800 meters per second, which is above average, so it will be relatively easy to hit distant opponents. The downside of pretty much any low-tier tank is that their cannons have small caliber and consequently shoot smaller rounds. So even while using APHE projectiles, sometimes you might need to hit the enemy crew compartment a few times to destroy their tank. Luckily, reload is also short. With a screw it's only 3.3 seconds. Tank's armor might look unpleasant with all these random things sticking out, but it's not that bad when it comes to characteristics. Frontal plates are 50mm thick, which is great considering that it's 1.7 battle rating vehicle. Some opponents won't be able to penetrate you frontally, especially at longer distances. When you add pontoons, it will increase tank's weight, but at the same time add 4mm of armor on both ends of the vehicle. It also acts as spaced armor that can protect the crew when you are hit with explosive ammunition or artillery barrage. Because of sheer size of this thing, high explosive or heat rounds will detonate so far from the vehicle that, in theory, you should be able to withstand all so-called derp cannons, including German 150mm one. Kachi crew compartment is basically a huge 10mm pipe, with some additional armor of the same thickness around it. It also acts as spaced armor, but there is not that much space between them, and the thickness of both plates is not enough to resist basically anything. So try not to show your sides whenever possible. I would avoid angling the hull at all, just in case. There is not that much benefit to not using pontoons, because they don't make noticeable difference in mobility anyway, while additional armor is always nice. But most importantly, pontoons make the vehicle look like a ship, so it becomes less ugly. Without pontoons, and that's the only reason to not use them, Kachi has guns depression of 10 degrees, but since everyone wants to have more armor, you'll probably have to get used to around 5 degrees, which will be a problem when it comes to dealing with targets at close range. Since this tank is so tall, smaller vehicles, which at low tiers translates as almost all vehicles, can safely hide in your blind spot. Additionally, Kachi turret rotation is a little slower than average, which can make dealing with opponents that get too close even more difficult. So try to destroy everyone before they get nearby. Despite the big size of the vehicle, crew members are not spread out around the tank evenly. In the turret, they are so close to each other that it creates an intimate atmosphere. So most of the time, everyone in the turret gets knocked out when someone hits you there. But nevertheless, there are 7 crew members in total, so it might take a while until the opponent knocks out all of them. And we all know that the longer it takes to destroy you, the longer you can blame your teammates for not helping. Kachi mobility is what you would expect from a heavy tank. Maximum speed is 35 kph, but you must make no turns and push W really hard if you want to move that fast. Maneuvering such huge and slow vehicle on certain maps can be complicated, but you can make a sharp turn when necessary if you don't mind losing all momentum. Both reverse and swim speed is 10 kph. By the way, you don't need pontoons to be equipped to be able to stay afloat. Just like pretty much any medium tank, for additional firepower the vehicle has artillery strike and machine gun. Though in case of machine gun, having it doesn't necessarily mean you can use it, since if you install pontoons modification, machine gun will be blocked. But there is no point in hull mounted machine gun since your main cannon has such a short reload that you can use it even against planes. In arcade, Kachi gains more engine power, which results in better acceleration and more maneuverability in general, which is very handy for a slow tank, a bit faster turret rotation, which also was a problem in realistic, and since tanks can survive with only one crew member, it takes even more hits to knock out all of your crew, so the tank remains more than playable in arcade. Especially considering that you have an APHE round, which is a must-have in this game mode. But probably most importantly, the low-tier arcade has plenty of inexperienced players. Kachi feels like a heavy tank because of its frontal armor and bad mobility, but at the same time it has artillery strike. Pontoons, probably the most interesting thing about this vehicle, gives you an option to customize the vehicle to fit your playstyle. It's always nice to be able to decide yourself if you want more protection or less weight and more guns depression. Also, pontoons can offer a tactical advantage over players who don't know that it's a separate part of your tank. You can expose it on purpose to bait opponents to fire their cannon, and once they start reloading, you can safely show up and teach them a lesson. I would rate this vehicle 7 snorkels out of 10. It has good armor in front, APHE rounds, and plenty of crew members to survive longer. And the only downside is mobility. I like this vehicle because of how simple it is. There is no need to think how to angle your hull, and shells have enough penetration to not worry about enemy weak spots. I was just driving towards opponents, shooting everything that moves, and felt pretty much invincible, because many opponents simply won't be able to penetrate you frontally, and even if they can, it takes more than one hit to destroy Kachi since it has so many crew members inside. You might want this vehicle for two reasons. To unlock the first two tiers in the Japanese tank tree, since it's premium, or if you are a collector collecting unusual vehicles. And by unusual, in this case I mean ugly.